Hello, my name is Jimmy, and this is a Genesis GV80. Come here, boy. Come here. Oh, good boy. Yes, the highly anticipated SUV from Genesis. This is going to be their benchmark. Yes, the base of it, there are some Hyundai and Kia parts, but you're not gonna feel it. You're not gonna see it, and it definitely doesn't look like it. This is an amazing looking SUV. From some angles, it actually kind of looks like a Bentley Bentayga in some angles, but that's not a bad thing. In my opinion, this is one of the better looking SUVs on the market, and it has to. In order for Genesis to compete in this luxury SUV market, it has to look the part. Take a look at this front grille. It's massive, it's chrome, and it's bright. Flanking this grille are these beautiful quad LED headlamps, and they're absolutely stunning. Moving to the side profile, these headlamps, they go all the way through. So the side markers as well as the tail lamps, they're actually in the perfect line for it. 22-inch wheels on this, the top trim. On the white one that you see here, these are just 20s. They still look the part, but the 22s definitely look better. I love this belt line that goes all the way from the front to the back of the vehicle. It's, well, quite stunning. And on this top trim, you also get soft closed doors, which is always a nice touch. The only thing I really wish it did have was the ability to lock and unlock the doors from the rear handle. Unfortunately, you do have to go to the front door to unlock it first, then you're able to, guess it wasn't opened. Then you're able to open the rear doors. And around back, it's absolutely beautiful as well. The taillights, well, they match the headlights in terms of the style. I mean, there's not really a single place on this vehicle that I don't like. Even the exhaust tips, they have the Genesis crest on it. There are definitely subtle, distinct styling points that makes this a Genesis, which is definitely appreciated. Let's take a look in the trunk. Like a lot of Hyundai, Genesis, and Kia products, the Genesis GV80, all you need to do is stand behind the trunk. In a few seconds, it automatically pops open. Of course, that's not the only option. You can press a remote, as well as there's a button right here underneath the wiper. Once you have the trunk open, there's plenty of space. This being the V6 means that I can carry 7. I currently have the third row fold down to carry the maximum amount of cargo back here. And the trunk itself is nice and plush. All you need to do is press a button right on the side here, and the third row can automatically come back up. You can, of course, fold the second row down as well with buttons right here on the side. And check out this little detail. It's not just buttons, there's a little knurling around it. This is what makes a luxury car an actual luxury vehicle. Moving to the inside of the GV80, and we have 3 rows of seating. Here in Canada, all V6 versions of the GV80 gets 3 rows, while the 4-cylinder variant only gets 2, suitable for 5 passengers. The third row really isn't designed for someone of my height at 5'11". If you're shorter, it may be acceptable. Gaining access to the third row is relatively easy. With one press, the second row is able to slide forward and out of the way, allowing decent access to the third row. As for the second row, we can slide the seats back and forth to increase second or third row legroom. The seat back itself can also recline for maximum comfort. The top trim that we have here, we have heated as well as cooled seats, and we also get motorized window blinds. Lower end trims, we still get window blinds, but they are manual. What's missing back here is an option for captain chairs. However, as is configured here, is definitely more suitable for families. The first row is definitely more similar to the second in terms of overall comfort. The seats are heated as well as cooled. On this upper end trim, we also have a feature where there's small inflatable bladders that fill the seat backs and bottoms in a more massaging feature kind of way, but it's designed to move you around to reduce fatigue during longer journeys. In front of the driver, we have a relatively controversial steering wheel. This two-spoke design is definitely different, but I do like the programmable button on it, allowing drivers to quickly and easily enable a feature. Behind the wheel sits a beautiful cluster. Depending on trim, we have two different clusters that's available. Lower end trims get a split digital and analog unit, which is fully acceptable on its own. But on this upper end trim, we have a full digital cluster that's not only clear, but it's also 3D. Using a similar technology as the Nintendo 3DS, it brings the cluster to life. Sadly, this doesn't show on camera, but it is certainly very unique. Moving from one screen to another, the main infotainment display is a massive 14.5-inch ultra-wide display. It sits nicely above the dashboard itself. Genesis has certainly placed one of the best inside this GV80. The display is bright and beautiful, and it's really easy to use. You can use a touchscreen, but it is a bit of a reach, so you can use a controller right here on the center console. It may take a little bit to learn exactly how to navigate within the menus, but after a few weeks, it's certainly an easy way to gain access to all the menus and the system itself. As for the rest of the cabin, it's beautiful. Filled with leather and soft touch materials, this cabin is sensational. Everything that you're feeling and touching is high-end. It's hard to find a piece of hard plastic in here. Overall, this cabin is closer to the fit and finish of its German rivals like the X5 and the GLE rather than like the Acura MDX or the Lexus RX. It has a certain feel to it. It feels more substantial. But that's enough talking about the interior. Let's go for a drive. Here in Canada, the Genesis GV80 only comes in all-wheel drive. In the US, you can get it with a rear-drive model. There are two engine options, a 4-cylinder as well as the 6-cylinder. The white one that we have, this is a 4-cylinder, and it makes a decent amount of power, 300 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. It's definitely not bad for a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder. But for those who want a little bit more oomph, you can get the V6. And that's exactly what we're in right now. It makes 375 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers, while it's not a huge amount more than the 4-cylinder, it is a lot smoother. The power delivery of the V6 is definitely better than the 4-cylinder. However, I must say, when I was driving around the 4-cylinder, I didn't feel like I need more power. The GV80 is not a sporty SUV. It's not the AMG or the M Performance line. This is more of a comfort SUV. And the 4-cylinder matches pretty well. The audio soundtrack on the V6 is a bit better, but to be honest, I don't think that's what people care about when they're going to be buying the GV80. What matters the most for Genesis buyers is just how comfortable it is. And in the GV80, it's superbly comfortable. The suspension is super soft, it soaks up all the bumps. Even on the 4-cylinder version where it just gets the base suspension, it's fine. On this, the V6, it has adaptive suspension where it uses a camera to scan the roads for imperfection. It's quite smart and it works well, but I just don't feel like it needs it. The 4-cylinder is already good enough. Once again, it's not a sporty SUV. Despite what you may see on like their advertisement where they have taken the GV80 like off-road and have it kind of like drifting around and whatnot, it's not really designed for that. This is just a really comfortable SUV to be in, and that's what it comes down to. The V6, you do get a limited slip rear end. I mean, yeah, I can see that helping in some scenarios, but for most buyers, once again, not really that needed. And the 4-cylinder can save you some fuel as well. It's rated for 21 miles per gallon in the city, 25 on the highway. That's 11.3 liters for 100 kilometers in the city and 9.5 on the highway. With the V6, it drops down to 18 miles per gallon in the city and 23 on the highway. That's 12.9 and 10.4. But of course, those are just the figures that they give you. You're probably not going to hit that. You're probably going to use a little bit more fuel than what they advertise. And, well, personally, I think the 4-cylinder just strikes that perfect balance. Of course, being in 2021, there's all sorts of safety features, adaptive cruise, lane keep assist. It actually works really, really well. During more congested driving, this vehicle can basically drive itself. Just enable the feature and it's able to take over the steering wheel. And it actually does it for quite a long time. Most vehicles, like after 15 seconds or so, it's going to tell you, hey, put your hands back on the wheel. On this, it sort of just does it by itself. You don't need to. It's actually quite amazing. And on the top model here, I do have the auto park technology, which I demonstrated right at the beginning. You're able to summon the vehicle forward and back, but it's a lot more than that. With a press on the button here in the center console, you're able to let the vehicle park itself. I mean, that technology isn't new. I mean, I think like 10 years ago, Lexus had that on their LS. But what you can do with the smart part that this has is you can jump out of the vehicle, hit a button on the remote, and let it park. I mean, let's be honest. If you're gonna let the vehicle park itself, I mean, just sit inside. It's not that hard. Why do you have to stand outside and hit a button? It's cool to show off to your friends and for that 1 or 2 times that you're gonna do that, but I don't see it being a practical use of that technology. What I can see is if you have a tighter driveway or a tighter parking spot, yes, you can then summon the vehicle out and back. That is definitely a little bit more useful, but parking in a parallel or perpendicular spot, I just don't see it. I mean, it has it, it's cool, and it is what it is. But let me pull over here and summarize everything up. The Genesis GV80. Honestly, I really, really like this SUV. It checks every single mark that you need for a luxury vehicle. It does. I mean, the brand, it doesn't have the recognition that Mercedes, BMW would have. But it doesn't really matter. You know, if you're not out there to show off, all you want to do is have a luxury SUV, this is definitely going to be better than an MDX or a Lexus RX. You have higher quality materials in here, and like I said, it feels more substantial. Everything has more weight to it. There's soft closed doors. There's just things that you don't get on a Lexus or an Acura product. And that's why it competes with the likes of the X5 and the GLE. And for pricing, it absolutely destroys the competition. A base GV80 here in Canada starts at $64,500. In the US, it's definitely a little bit less as all-wheel drive is not standard. That's $48,900 in the US. On the top trim here, it's 85,000 Canadian dollars or $65,550 in the US. If we compare it to its competition, the BMW X5 starts at about $77,000 and tops off at about $95,000. The GLE 350 starts at $70,000 and you can option that well over $100,000. The Q7, $68,000. Even the Lexus GX 470 starts at $77,000 and goes all the way up to $83,000. If you're thinking about pricing, the only real competitor is the Lincoln Aviator as well as the Cadillac XT6. The Aviator is pretty good, but the XT6 can't beat this. This is definitely better. And I guess that's really it. That's all I have to say about the GV80. If you have any questions, leave in the comment section down below, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.